All right, so we're live here. It's the Era Thanksgiving special. I'm Brian Gregoire. We got Luke Close on here. We got CL on here as a guest, and we have in person,
That's right.
Mr. Zeke Wager, the Dolphins mega fan that I do think at the end of the day should be nominated for Fan of the Year. I've been saying that I think that he should be at least in consideration for that
Well,
because he's by far the biggest Dolphins fan I've met in my entire life.
You can only be fan of the year when you stick out a 4-7 record, right?
Tua was on IR.
All
Hey,
right.
what about they got the Packers tomorrow night? And that's
We'll see how it goes.
in a lot of ways that's their season because it's they're at an inflection point right now where they're 5-6, and if they win tomorrow night, they're 500s, and that can really just help to push them over the hump. But
If it snows, we lose.
and it may there's a 30 to 50% chance that it snows.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be interesting. But we got a lot of college football to cover here.
Always.
This is one of my favorite weekends of the year, rivalry weekends. Of course, Alabama and Auburn, Ohio State and Michigan, and back once again is Texas and Texas A&M. I've been waiting for this one for a very long time.
Yeah, good for the sport.
It's great. It's great for the sport. It's one of the best, most historic rivalries in the sport, and I'm very excited to see it back again. Not only back, but probably the grandest stage that you could imagine or that anybody could dream up for this game. I mean, this scenario is fantastic.
Hey, well, we did sacrifice Oklahoma State and Oklahoma for Texas and Texas A&M though. So, college football gods had to get their get back somehow.
Which that's one I like Bedlam. Don't get me wrong; it's a great rivalry, but Oklahoma always won that thing.
Well, right, but I mean, as someone that was in Oklahoma last week, those fans weren't even worried about the game. They were just talking about if Oklahoma State won or not.
Really?
Yeah, it was actually pretty shocking. I didn't know it was like that type of energy between them, like that much hatred, almost like an Alabama and Auburn hatred. But yeah, they really hate each other.
You know what rivalries like that too. This honestly might be the most heated rivalry in college football volumes I've seen is Ole Miss and Mississippi State. The Egg Bowl. Wow.
Yeah, they hate each other in all sports too.
Yeah, like at the end, the things that have happened between those two schools have been insane. Like a couple of years ago, I think there was like a bomb threat called in Oxford or something like it was fucking crazy. Like 2022.
Oh yeah.
And of course, the end of the game in 2019 with the whole peeing in the end zone thing, and the celebration and the fight on the field. Like it's every year. It's very chippy when they play every year. Like it's
every time
fight.
What are we jumping into here first?
Let's honestly let's tee off with Texas and Texas A&M. I mean, first of all, like this is this game. I would say obviously means a lot more for Texas A&M than it does for Texas because Texas is pretty much guaranteed a spot in the playoff at this point, only having one loss. It's only them, Ohio State, Oregon has 0 losses, and like SMU, Notre Dame that are in Penn State that are in that predicament. It's like there's not really a lot of teams out there that are in the 1-loss predicament. Like everybody's battered, everybody has losses. Texas is in a right spot where they don't. A&M is 3, and so like A&M needs to win this game to get that experience in the SEC championship and hopefully win it. Like there's a lot more urgency for them. So, and they got this game at home, and it's a night game. I just think there's a lot on their side going into it.
Well, and as CL knows pretty well, Mike Elko said in the interview that he was solely focused on Auburn.
Yeah, I mean, he was real focused on Texas last week. Didn't really work out too well for him, but I'd expect A&M to probably win this one. Texas really hasn't beaten anyone this year.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
They haven't beaten anyone. They've beaten bad teams, but I mean, every single time they faced Georgia and got blown out at home.
And how Auburn didn't do Texas any favors last week by beating A&M. The haunted Jordan-Hare Stadium, as I heard a couple nights ago. CL.
I mean, our little voodoo magic comes out at least once a year. It seems like But we just kind of like to mess everything up for everyone else right now because we've been so bad. So it's good to at least get someone new in the picture instead of just y'all, Luke.
Well, 4-year streak. We'll make it 5 this weekend. But I like. I think I like A&M as well too. Just Texas, I think, kind of lessens their playbook a little bit, makes it a little bit more vanilla. I don't know if they'll show everything to win that game. It's a rivalry game. They want to win the game. They want to get bragging rights. But in reality, Texas is going for bigger things this year than Texas A&M is.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Take the ball. Yeah, I've got to take Texas A&M in this one. I just think that there's a lot of urgency. They need it when there's desperation and coming off of an embarrassing loss like that. Like that's A&M knows they've got to rebound. That's a psychological state that they're going into this game with, and I like them to bounce back and get a win and end up in the SEC championship. They need it because Texas gets in either way.
Right, and I mean Georgia, Texas again in Atlanta. So I know the committee said that they don't penalize you for losing in the SEC championship a lot, or I don't know if they flat out said it, but that's kind of the understanding because you can't penalize a team for playing in their conference championship game anymore. But a 3-loss Texas team potentially losing to Georgia, that would be a real argument for some other teams talking about strength of schedule and big wins and whatnot. So, things could get interesting here over the last 2 weeks for Texas.
If A&M wins, I'm pretty sure they're in the SEC championship, right?
Oh, maybe. Oh,
yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Texas probably will put everything.
They'll be in regardless. Regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be in the playoff. Honestly, if I'm Texas, like I'm putting all chips on the table on Saturday because it's a rivalry game.
Yeah, especially if you're going to regardless.
I'm putting all the chips on the table. Don't get me wrong, but in a way, I'd almost rather not play in the ASCC championship and get a week's rest and host a playoff game.
Well, so that was a big conversation among Alabama fans the last couple of weeks as well. Obviously, last week's result doesn't really help us in anything. But a lot of people were saying, "Oh, do we even want to play in the SEC championship? Would we want to host a playoff game instead, or whatnot?" I think when you go into the season, you don't sit there and play these scenario games out. You play for a championship. So Texas itself, I think, will be playing for an SEC championship. And I think A&M as well, I guess. I mean, that's pretty much all they've got. They won an SEC championship in their first year. I don't think they would beat Georgia. I don't think that at all. But give themselves a shot to really – an SEC championship in your first year as a first-year head coach is just a monumental achievement. So we'll see. That game has a lot of implications.
Oh, yeah. You saw what it did for LSU and Brian Kelly's momentum several years ago.
Right.
And, it's not like they've done much with it since, but it's a huge momentum boost nonetheless. When you're a coaching staff with a new team, first year and a new team, new conference, when you establish those expectations early, that would be huge for A&M. It's compared to the past for them, it has been a good year for A&M, regardless of what happens. You're definitely seeing the momentum start to shift for A&M in the right direction. I'm seeing them play in a much more well-coached fashion than I've ever had in the past.
Yeah, I agree. They've had a good year this year, regardless of what happens. But a win over Texas in an SEC championship appearance would be
huge.
Yeah,
absolutely huge. Well, let's transition into talking about Alabama and Auburn. I'd say that's probably your second biggest game of the day. Because if Alabama beats Auburn by a significant enough margin, I think there will at least be consideration for them getting the playoffs. I'm not going to sit there and pound on the desk for it, but I'll say it definitely opens up the door for arguments.
You still need teams to lose.
What's that?
You still need teams to lose ahead of you too.
Yeah, you're going to have to rely on other teams to get in. And as far as Auburn goes, they're a team. They're in wounded animal mode, and they're just existing right now to send team seasons into upheaval. And there's nobody else they'd rather do it to than Alabama. Going into this game, I said if Alabama plays the way they did on Saturday and Auburn plays the way they did on Saturday, Auburn's going to win. But that's not going to happen.
Yeah,
Alabama's still. it's an embarrassing loss, and I think that they'll find a way, especially at home, to beat Auburn by at least 10. That's my prediction.
And it's a thing because you don't want to say that it's a must-win game for this coaching staff, but I mean, a lot of Alabama fans are really riled up now. I think we talked about this in June, how Alabama fans are going to be very spoiled with the tenure that we've had, and losing 3 games, especially to the opponents we have, really not a good sign for things to come, in my opinion. But we're hoping for some positivity, and the Alabama fans will be out. The Auburn fans will be out there, even though I think that Nebraska's fan base is a little bit better than Auburn's fan base. But
let's not start this today, Luke.
Yeah, but both teams will be out there. I mean, me and CL will both be in Tuscaloosa. We'll probably be talking a little shit to each other, putting a few beers down. And they say that Georgia and Florida is the biggest cocktail party in the South. Well, I'd like to put Alabama and Auburn in a competition with that, because we like to have our fun too down in Alabama.
Absolutely.
As an Auburn fan looking at this game, I mean, we have nothing to lose. We're fighting to get to a bowl game. Alabama, y'all have everything to lose right here. Y'all coming off a bad loss. I'd expect y'all to come out a little bit slow and sluggish. We're going to throw everything at you. I would expect Auburn to keep it a game early, maybe even be up early. And at some point, I'm going to say Auburn's going to win on here. But in all honesty, I think a late turnover gives y'all the lead and y'all end up winning by 7-10.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty expected when it comes to Auburn. They're going to throw 3 or 4 trick plays at you. Oklahoma ran a double pass against us last weekend, and they had a guy wide open in the end zone. He dropped it, but it still worked. But Auburn's known for that razzle-dazzle that especially gets under Alabama's skin, if anything. But like you said, start slow. I hope to God we don't start slow, because I really want to see potentially maybe the last game of the Jalen Milroe era, because you don't know what players do in bowl games now.
I said this to Luke.
A good performance early.
Luke, I was talking to you about this the other day. What do you think about DeMarcus Riddick and talking about Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams?
That just adds the fuel. I mean, it feels like as much as I love when Auburn's down as an Alabama fan, it's almost better when Auburn's good and there's something to play for. It makes the rivalry more intense. It makes it more special, and it feels good to have some Auburn players talking some smack to Alabama before the week again. Now, let's not make this a thing. We got to win the game, and because if not, then it's just going to be a whole lot more smack talk. But we'll see. We'll see what Riddick. We'll see if Riddick's right or not. He might have to eat his words on Saturday early.
Now, I want to ask this one to you, Luke, because and honestly, both of you, because you all lived in Alabama your whole lives. I was there for 3 years, so I got a good understanding of it. But you've been there your entire lives. Alabama loses to Auburn. If you're Kalen DeBoer, given the intensity of this rivalry, what does that do? Like, what does the temperature in the room become?
It is
the fan base
flaming. It won't be a hot seat. It will be people trying to run him out of town. So Alabama's never won in Bryant-Denny without Nick Saban in this rivalry's history. They used to play at Legion Field in Birmingham, and then Alabama built Bryant-Denny, went through a bunch of bad coaching changes. Auburn dominated the rivalry. But losing to Auburn is – and I think it was the same way for like Gus Malzahn and those good Auburn teams as well. Losing to Auburn, or the vice versa of losing to Alabama, most of the time that's what most fans care about. Like the casual fans that don't really watch or anything, and they might watch 1 or 2 games a year, they'll watch this game and they'll watch like LSU or Tennessee. Mm-hmm. This is the meter right here, because this is the worst stretch in Auburn football history. You lose to this Auburn team, and you've got serious problems. I mean serious.
At the end of the day, if you lose to a Peyton Thorne-led Auburn team, That's 5-6, and the year before went 6-7. Statistically, like Luke said, the worst 4 years of Auburn football history. You should probably just go ahead and hang it up and, probably just retire after that one. I don't know if anyone would. I don't know how long you're going to be around Alabama after that.
Yeah, you'd probably have to move out west again.
Probably pull a little Brian Harsin, get that paycheck, and go.
Yeah, that would be what it was.
Well, that's just it. It's like, and I'm not a fan of firing a head coach in the first year.
No, neither am I.
I like to be patient and give guys time to develop. And I like the boy. I mean, I met him. He's a really nice guy. Like I'm pulling for him. Like I'd like to see this thing work out for him. But I just know from the magnitude of that rivalry and juxtaposing that or combining that, I would say, with the losses that Alabama's had most recently last week. I mean, that was probably that was the most embarrassing Alabama loss that I've seen since the Clemson game, the national championship in 2018. I mean, that was just straight up embarrassing. And if you couple that with an Auburn loss, I really, it's going to be the temperature is going to be very high in Tuscaloosa. It's going to be very hostile towards him. And I don't want to see that, but that's likely where it would be trending.
And he'd probably make it here too. He'd probably make it here too, but he just wouldn't make it further than that. He'd have Auburn and Jordan Hare that year.
I mean, and the thing is, with going back to that being the most embarrassing loss since Clemson in the national championship, that was Clemson in the national championship. That wasn't Oklahoma 5-5 Oklahoma on the road. Like that's still a successful year to make the national championship. So. Yeah, I don't think I've lived through the golden era of Alabama football. I cannot remember a loss as embarrassing as that. Like Vandy played a perfect game. You gave Oklahoma that game, and credit to Oklahoma.
I've got Oklahoma people in my office, and they're all going up to the games in Norman, and I was talking to them about the game, and they're like, "Yeah, you're going to smoke us. You're going to destroy us." We have 5 receivers on the IR. We've got 4 linemen on the IR. Like, we're screwed. Like, you're going to beat us. And then not only did Alabama lose, they put 3 points and get demolished by a very truncated team, very depleted team. I was at a loss for words, but I said this in the video on Sunday night, the live that I did. It's when you have a running quarterback, and you know this with Lamar, Luke, it's not a preferable style. If you need ingredients around you to work, right? You need to have a great defense. Your O-line needs to be on. You got to have receivers that can get separation. You don't have those 3 things. It can be a little wonky. Or if you're playing a team in like an Oklahoma, whose pass rush and their defense is insane, good luck. That's what the Steelers did to the Ravens a couple weeks ago. They sent that pass rush at Lamar and put him in a box, made him uncomfortable, made him do things that he doesn't like to do. And that's exactly what Oklahoma did to Jalen Milroe. And it was the opposite against LSU when they had no run defense.
Yeah.
Running up their ass all game. Like, it's you need the matchup needs to be a certain way, and your own team needs to be organized a certain way for that running quarterback style to work. And you need a freak athlete in your quarterback, like a Lamar.
As much as I love Jalen Milroe, I think the knock on him always has been his throwing ability. And until now, like, I think Alabama fans have really believed in him and believed in his progression. And it might be time to say that maybe he just is not a championship level quarterback, but that does not mean he's not a great player. It does not mean that he hasn't done a lot of Alabama in his time here. So I really appreciate everything he's done for us, but I think it might be time to maybe kind of take a look back and see everything in the bigger picture.
Dude, he's so good. I mean, I think Jalen Milroe is one of the most electric players in college football.
Yeah.
I mean, he's so, like, even as an Auburn fan, like, watching him, like, when I watched that Georgia game, I mean, he was so much fun to watch. So, personally, I hope he leaves Alabama and, I never have to watch him play again. I can watch him on Sundays or something like that. But, I think he gets a little too much hate sometimes from Alabama fans this year.
Oh, he totally does. And all that I'm saying, like I love Miller. I've been around him. Like his leadership style is great, very inspiring guy. Works his ass off. The work ethic is through the roof.
Absolutely.
And another guy that like I really want to work out for. But that's just the reality with run first quarterbacks is you need to scheme it up a certain way. And and when I say that, I'm saying like it's not all on him.
Oh, you know, no.
It comes down to coaching. It comes down to roster construction. Things need to be a certain way for that style to be effective. And when it is, you've got a team like Baltimore. That one of the best coaching staffs in the NFL. You've got Lamar Jackson paired with Derrick Henry. It's tough to beat that. But and last year's coaching staff, I think, knew how to scheme up a lot better for Jalen Milroe than this year's does.
Yeah.
DeBoer's vision has always been vertical, aerial, deep passes, stretching the field. Like that's what he wants to do. So I think there's a little disconnect right now between what Alabama has and what DeBoer's vision for that offense is in the long term.
Exactly. Well, that's a lot of Alabama, Auburn talk. You know, I think we covered everything from this game and from last week, the last couple of weeks. Said we'll jump into Ohio State, Michigan.
Yeah, but it's perfect. Zeke is back, the Ohio State guy. So we're gonna break this down. Ohio State, Michigan.
Nobody really likes the Wolverines. Let's be honest.
Nah, yeah, I mean I'm kind of with you there, but nobody really likes the Buckeyes either.
Hey, it's just not factual.
Hey, look, I support the Buckeyes when they play Michigan, when they play Penn State, and that's about it. But yeah, those are the two games I usually pull for Ohio State in is Penn State and Michigan, and if they somehow play Notre Dame, I pull for Ohio State in that game as well. This Saturday. Oh, what's up?
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
When the Buckeyes come to T-Town a couple years, 35-10 Buckeyes.
I mean, what a pre-call.
Yeah, you got it. Hopefully, you're still a Buckeyes fan by then. But
I don't even know if Ryan Day will be your coach by then.
Yeah,
I hope he isn't.
I don't even know if he's. I don't know if DeBoer is going to be our coach. We may have two different coaches by that time.
Well, I do have to say though, with this Ohio State Michigan game, I think it's kind of like the Iron Bowl though. I mean, how long do you think Michigan's been preparing for this game for? 2-3 weeks now. They've been kind of owning the series as of late, right? I mean, they've been doing good things against the Buckeyes lately. And, Sharon Moore, he was on that coaching staff that he's been on the staff when they've had success against Ohio State. So, I mean, I think this game's going to be a little bit closer. Ohio State's been known to kind of have a stagnant offense at times this year. Michigan's got a great defense. And Ohio State's coming off of a big win against the top 5 teams. So, it's got all the recipe for maybe a closer game than people expect. I still have Ohio State winning it, but I don't think it's going to be as easy as most people think.
Well, I will say this about this game in particular. If you were talking about Ohio State playing against a more middle of the pack team, if you will, like a Maryland or an Iowa or something like that, I would be in agreement that they may start slow and may not win by as high of a margin as we'd expect. This game's personal. And this game's been on Ohio State's radar for a long time. Granted, Indiana's a huge game. It's a statement game. It's a prove-it game. It's you're hosting a 10-0 team that there's a lot of speculation about, everybody's opinions about Indiana, if they deserve to be in, if they don't. Their schedule's too soft, but they're good enough to be undefeated and all. Whatever anybody would like to say about Indiana. And Ohio State has always been the top dog in that conference. I mean, especially for the past 10 years. So there was like that kind of matchup of the team who always dominates and a new kid on the block. It's huge for Ohio State. You put a big exclamation point on that game. But this Michigan game is even bigger than the Indiana game for Ohio State. It is. They've beaten in the last 3 years. You know how big that is in a rivalry like that. They want to get right. They want to prove it. And especially after last year, Ohio State not only wants to win this game, the mentality is going to be to absolutely throttle these dudes. And I think they're going to do that, especially in the shoe. I like Ohio State probably like 49-10. I'm not even – I don't predict blowouts like that, but I'm confident that they are going to serve Michigan some whoop ass on Saturday. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I would agree with that one.
I mean,
yeah.
I will see, man. I mean, you might be giving them too much credit, though. That Ohio State fan sitting next to you might be rubbing off on you a little bit.
No, this shit's. I mean, let me ask you. When Pittsburgh comes to your house in a few weeks, what's that going to be like after what happened on a couple Sundays ago? Like what's the mentality going to be like for that one?
Normally I'd say we're going to get our. We'll probably lose. Pittsburgh owns us.
You think you'll lose that? I hope you don't lose that again.
I mean, just based off recent history, maybe, yeah.
That's.
I'm a negative Ravens fan though, so I mean, I have no reason to be a positive Ravens fan until we figure it out. Like you said about coaching staff, I'm not a fan of Harbaugh, so
You're not a Harbaugh guy?
No, I think I think the game's kind of passing by a little bit.
That's new. I don't think I've ever heard a Ravens fan say they don't like John Harbaugh. That's I get it. I'm not going to argue you. You
should see our Ravens spaces on Twitter that I'm a part of. It's just dumb challenges and stuff like that. Just stuff that loses you the games. Bad time management. Bad clock management. Just little mistakes like that. I love him as a person.
I get that, but yeah, the mismanagement stuff that can be frustrating. But yeah. Michigan, Ohio State, very, very personal game. I do indeed like Ohio State, and I see we're at 26 minutes here. Well, I guess we'll cap it off with this one. I want everyone to give an upset of the week. I have mine that I am confident in. I'm going to go short about this on Friday too, going into the game. But I'll let y'all go first, and then I'll tell mine.
ZL, you want to start us off? I know you got that Auburn basketball game.
Yeah, I mean. The only upset I can really think of that kind of like is Mississippi State over Ole Miss. Mississippi State, won that game in a good bit. Ole Miss is coming off a tough loss. They're out of the playoff. I don't think Jackson Dart's going to do much on that defense. But yeah, I got Mississippi State.
Mine is going to be I can just see this one coming. I know how both of these teams play in this game. And I know how this team plays towards the end of the year. Give me USC over Notre Dame in SoCal. Now, USC made a change. USC made a change at quarterback. Notre Dame, they've looked better, but right as Notre Dame always starts to look like they figured it out and they look better, they drop a little sleeper game like this. Mm-hmm. And then just I'm also taking South Carolina over Clemson. So I don't know if you even call that an upset, but.
No, that I expect at this point. I expect South Carolina to win, but I hold South Carolina to a higher regard than a lot of people do. Like I think that team is legitimately really good.
I do too.
Yeah. I think they're one of the best teams in our conference. They lost a couple games early, and the second half, that LSU game was absolute bullshit, and they should have won that game. And the way they competed with us in Tuscaloosa, and then. The Ole Miss game was a blemish, obviously, but you take one of those games out, people look a lot differently on South Carolina. But I love that USC over Notre Dame pick. I didn't even think about that one, and that's totally something that could happen. And let me ask you, if Notre Dame loses that game, how are they viewed by the playoff committee, do you think?
I don't know. I think that's like one of those 50-50 ones because Notre Dame's got by far the worst loss of any team, and I think that a 6-5 USC team, granted it's on the road, but I don't know if Notre Dame has the quality wins or not to where you can really judge them and be like, can they beat this team on a neutral site, or can they beat this team on the road even in the playoffs? Like, is this team good enough to go on the road somewhere and beat this team? The playoff committee would have a headache there.
Yeah, that's mayhem. That's just as bad as everything that happened last weekend. I mean, that would make things even harder. I'll be honest with you, and I'm harder on Notre Dame than other teams because they get to kind of handpick their own schedule.
Right.
Very easy. I think if they lose this game, they should be out.
Yeah,
because of the Northern Illinois loss. That's pathetic. At home, that's pathetic. Yeah. And then coupling that with a 6-5 USC loss, that's not a playoff team.
And your best two wins are against service academies.
Yeah, Navy. Oh, don't forget they beat Louisville. No,
it's not a good win. Louisville lost to Stanford. Choked the game in 2 minutes left. So I don't hold that win in high regards. So.
Neither do I.
So
mine is and I see this one coming from a mile away. Syracuse beats Miami.
Yeah, you told me about that a couple weeks ago too.
In the Carrier Dome, Syracuse beats Miami. This is you want to talk a team's timing. This reminds me of 2017 with Miami, where they had that really hot start. Granted, they're undefeated then. They have one loss now. But having one loss at this point is like being undefeated back then because you're still likely going to make the playoff with a conference championship win. Miami is just one of those teams, they get in that situation where all the chips are on the table and all they've got to do is win a pretty manageable game.
And they fumble it.
They'll fumble it. And you pair that with a team like Syracuse that I don't know how much you've watched Syracuse this year. They're one of the best like mid teams out there right now. Like offensively, they're scary. Like it seems like every week you turn around and Kyle McCord is throwing over 400 yards.
I love LaKeith Allen.
LaKeith Allen is an absolute dog. And like who on Miami's defense is going to stop that? They have one of the worst secondaries in college football. Like they can't stop anybody. They can't stop a nosebleed. And so you put that up against Syracuse's offense. Andrew, you're in the Carrier Dome. I still do call it the Carrier Dome.
Yeah, it is the Carrier Dome still.
I like Syracuse in that game.
I'm with you on that one. I can see that one easily happening as well.
It's going to be it may be a very enthralling afternoon in upstate New York. And by the way, now Cobb is all of a sudden a closet Syracuse fan. I don't know where the hell this came from.
No, he is. He's been talking to me about him all year. So
Cobb's a fraud.
He calls me a front runner. That's bullshit. I just want to put that out there. It's all of a sudden now. Now he can front run teams, but I can't. Okay,
Cobb's wishy-washy.
But Bobby Beers.
Yeah, Bobby Beers, man. You never know what you're gonna get with Bobby Beers.
No, it's a wild card. You never know. Well, thank you all for coming on today. This was a good chat. I always love talking about college football, especially going into rivalry weekend. This is one of my favorite weekends of the year.
Wait. I got one question for you two gentlemen.
Yeah.
Realistically, how good do you think Arizona State is?
6. 6
Uh,
out of 10.
I mean, I think they're capable of producing some chaos, but can they win a big game? No. I think they'd go into – I mean, they're going to beat what, the 12? They'll be the 12 seed. Are they going to beat the loser of the SEC championship? Or are they going to beat the loser of the Big Ten championship? No. I mean,
that's the thing. Is like against other Big 12 teams, I think they're the hottest and the best right now.
Yeah.
But when you bring them into the field of Big Ten and SEC teams and even like your SMUs and your Miamis, like I think that they'll be outmatched. And I'm a big Cam Scattaboo guy, but I think it's a little too much for them.
Love him. But all right.
Guess
we're gonna wrap this up.
We got it. We got a big eating day tomorrow, and then a big football day Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So
and still some big college basketball too. I know going on.
And huge college basketball. We're about to flick that on as well.
Yeah, turn on the tight. Watch Auburn beat Memphis today.
Let's go Memphis, baby.
Okay, you got a lot.
Oh, what's
up?
You
got a lot. Well, Memphis is down 18 with 10 minutes to go, so you're gonna need a big comeback here.
Oh, it's over. Forget that. Forget that. It's all right. They got it. Auburn's got it. Those Tigers got it. It's it. That's it.
No, that doesn't bother me. Long game to go.
That's a dub. You're gonna win.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, boys. Enjoy it. Eat up.
I appreciate y'all coming on.
Yes, sir. Y'all enjoy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, appreciate you guys.
Yes, sir. Yes, thanks for coming on, CL. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I'll see y'all.
See ya.